Okay, hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the pod. Now, I have been struggling to come up with podcast ideas that are like more lighthearted. I have like a list right now, and it's like dealing with depression, my journey with anxiety, struggling to find a therapist. So I thought today it would be fun to do underrated versus overrated, because like I just want to like yap about random things, you know? And I asked for topics on my story. I mean, I feel like most of you understood the concept, which is like picking things that are really trendy or really hyped right now, and then talking about whether you think, you know, like it's worth the hype. And then some of you just put like very random things where I think you just wanted to know if I like it or not. I'm gonna go in order from the things that I got the most, because there were some things that like a bunch of you guys put. It was really interesting. And then I'm slowly gonna work my way towards the topics that probably only one of you is actually interested in. And we're gonna start off, I got so much of this, Labubus slash Sunny Angels slash Smiskies. If you don't know what those are, you're probably like, what are these words she's saying? If you're watching the video version, I'll like insert some photos. But basically these are like little different doll trinket things. So like a Labubu is like a little monster thing. It's like kind of fuzzy, I think. Sunny Angels, they are like these little naked babies that wear like different hats. This sounds so crazy if you don't have the context. And then Smiskies are little glow-in-the-dark men. Yeah, that I realize this sounds a little bit insane. But basically, I think a big reason that like these have popped off is because they come in a blind box format, which basically means like you'll buy like a box from the collection, and it could be one of like, I don't know, 8 to 10 different designs or positions, and then you like open the little bag and you don't know what you're gonna get. So I call it like gambling for Gen Z girlies. Like a lot of it is just the like rush of serotonin that you get from opening it. And then obviously people like collect them, and then they'll be like, oh, I really want this one from the collection. And people will like weigh them to like try and figure out in the store like which one is the one they want. And they're low-key expensive. Like I feel like Smiskies and Sunny Angels can be like anywhere from like $10 to $15. I want to say overrated only because like Smiskies and Sunny Angels, I think they're cuter than Labubus, but they are so impractical. And I guess if you collect enough that you can like have a whole display case of them. My old roommate had them like set up on one of those little kind of like fire escape ladder mini shelf things, and it was super, super cute room decor. But in general, like they have no use. That's why I kind of like the Sunny Angels. I have one on my desktop actually. They have this one where you can like stick it to like your phone or your computer. Those I prefer because I feel the frontal nudity of Sunny Angels are weird to me. Like the little naked butt is cute, but like the naked front I don't like. So those I don't mind because that's like a little decor thing. But the normal standing ones, like what do you do with them? And so if I had to order them from cuteness, I think Smiskies are the cutest, Sunny Angels second, and then Labubus are kind of scary. Like they have these like weird teeth. But Labubus come in keychain format, which I just think, like, if these all were keychains, I would be way more likely to, like, buy them and collect them. I don't know. I don't really want to say that they're overrated because I don't like to yuck anyone's yum. And I feel like anything that, like, is whimsical and brings joy to women, I don't want to, like, shit on. You know, I'm not going to make fun of them for it. But I do think they're a little bit overrated just because I wish there was, like, more ways to kind of incorporate them into your life besides putting them on a table. Mine actually live in like a little terrarium on my shelf. I'll insert a photo. The next thing that I got a ton was matcha. I guess when I talk about this, I should talk about like the hype around a matcha and not so much matcha itself, because matcha itself is never going to be overrated to me. Like, I don't know if you guys actually know this. I don't talk about it a lot, but I am a tea enthusiast. Like I have like maybe 6 different kinds of tea bags at my desk right now. I famously don't drink water, so I will just drink like cups and cups of tea to get my hydration, like to the point where it's so diluted it's basically water. I just refuse to drink plain water. It's a whole thing. But I love matcha. Like, the grassiness of the flavor has never bothered me. I think it's so delicious, like on its own or like in a matcha latte. I love matcha desserts. The hype around matcha is a little bit, like, I want to say it's a little bit overrated, only because I feel like it's gotten trendy to the point where people are trying to engage in matcha culture when they don't even actually like matcha. It's kind of the same way as like when you see something trending in fashion and people are wearing it, even though you can tell it's not their personal style. Like, there are definitely girlies who would never drink a plain iced matcha, like find the flavor really grassy, or like would have thought it was a gross a few years ago. But now that it's trendy, they like want to get a cute little matcha latte to like take a photo with their little pastel bag. And it's like, it's become like an aesthetic. It's fine. I'm not one of those people where I'm like, oh, you shouldn't drink frappuccinos or like drink coffee at all if you don't truly like the flavor of coffee. Like, if you want to just consume matcha in like a matcha latte format, go ahead. If the businesses that were benefiting from the matcha hype were all Asian, it would be a different story. But matcha, and this is a whole other thing, like, people always assume that matcha is originally Japanese when it's originally Chinese, and I don't want to get into like xenophobia and like people labeling Chinese things as Japanese and Korean because that's just a larger topic. But whatever. If, East Asian people, businesses were benefiting from this, I'd be like, sure, like, let the white girlies pay like $1 million for their matcha latte. But obviously a lot of non-Asian people starting matcha businesses, which is also fine. This is like the whole cultural appreciation versus appropriation discussion. Like, it's not like you have to be East Asian to start a matcha business, but just people adding matcha to their menu when they don't know anything about it or how to make it properly, and people like starting these brands and just kind of, whitewashing them and not paying homage to the original culture. In general, when like Asian things become trendy and are like more in the zeitgeist, I don't know, I have like mixed feelings about it, but having something Asian be trendy and have a lot of people who wouldn't normally be exposed to it discover it and love it is, in general, a good thing. So I'm gonna say, like, the hype around it's a little overrated, but matcha itself, properly rated or underrated, because I freaking love that stuff. Okay, next, I did get a lot of, like, crochet, knitting, fiber arts related topics, obviously. I'm gonna try and scatter them throughout, because not everyone who listens crochets, and a lot of that discussion is probably not gonna make sense or be that interesting. The first one that I got a lot was granny squares. If you don't know what it is, I mean, I'll insert photos, but it's basically like this rotationally symmetrical motif, and it makes like a little square, and people will connect them to make like balaclavas, tops, cardigans, blankets. I mean, this is bold of me to say, given I literally made a video where I crocheted granny squares for a whole day. I think they're a little overrated, but that's very much a personal opinion. Like, they're just, I've said this so many times, like, granny squares are just really not my style. There are some alternative granny squares that I like more. So, for example, I mean, I now hate this set and find it ugly, but I made this set with granny squares where like you change the color randomly instead of every round. It gives them more kind of like geometric mod look that I like a little bit more. I like granny square pieces that are made with like really thin cotton so that it's more of a fabric. Actually, one of the people put like not just granny squares, but in particular those granny square cardigans. Those, I'm sorry, are so overrated to me. Obviously, it depends on like what yarn you use and like how you block the garment and stuff. But in general, they are just like very boxy. They don't drape that well. Like, they don't drape the way a normal sweater or cardigan would. I know some people who look really cute in them and it's totally their style. But for me, I feel like it's so much work for a piece that like I would not wear. And I did make like a version of that cardigan that Harry Styles wore. So it's a bunch of like acrylic yarn squares that I sewed together. The look is really, really cool, but it doesn't drape that well. Like, it's so thick and blocky. They are like such a commonly used motif in crochet, and there are some granny square pieces I like, but in general, I really don't gravitate towards them very much. Next one that I got a ton, which I feel like you guys are just like teeing me up for a rant here, but it's like having a significant other, or a lot of people put being single. And I'm sorry, but being single is so underrated. And I'm not just saying that because I've basically been single my entire adult life despite wanting a relationship. Like, here's the thing. I think having a really loving, attentive partner who treats you really well, that is such an amazing thing and such an amazing blessing. And if I had the opportunity to have that, I would always want that. Like, that's why I'm a hopeless romantic and I always wanted a relationship, right? Like, I had this view of like a very positive relationship. But let's be honest, if you take the average of like, I don't know, all relationships that are currently ongoing in the world, I don't think the average would be like a net positive, not to put it in, you know, extremely transactional terms. I guess I would much rather be single than be in a relationship that doesn't serve me. And like, there are so many fantastic things about being single. Like, you guys know, I really love having my time alone. I love coming home to an empty apartment, an empty room. I'm sorry, but the idea of like coming home and then a man being in your home is so scary to me. The idea of waking up and there being a man next to me in bed, terrifying. Like, I think even if I was seeing someone, like if I like got married, I would not want to sleep with them all the time. Like, I get the best sleep when I'm alone in my freaking bed. You know, not having to like text someone good morning and good night or like update someone on your life. Like, I just feel like I have so much agency. A romantic relationship takes a lot of time and energy. And, you know, if I met the right person, I'm sure I would make time for them. But even right now, I feel like I'm kind of stretched thin. Like, I barely have enough time for my friends and my career. And I just know that if I started dating someone, like, something would have to give, you know, like I'd have to put less time into content or see my friends less or put less time into myself. When you're single, you can really prioritize yourself. I live my life in what I say is like not a selfish way, but a very self-centered way. Like, I can really prioritize what will optimize my health and my happiness. And obviously when you're in a relationship, it's like give and take and you have to make sacrifices and, you know, like do things for your partner. I just think like until you meet the right person, it is so valuable to be single and enjoy that experience. And this is why, like, even if I were in a relationship right now, like, I wouldn't want to live with my partner. I wouldn't want to travel with my partner that much because once everyone settles down and gets married, like, obviously, this is assuming everyone subscribes to, like, the typical life path. But, like, going on a trip with a bunch of your girlfriends, that is so rare once everyone, like, has their own partner. Getting to have, like, little sleepovers and, like, spend, you know, full days or weeks, like, just with the girls. That is like what feels most valuable for me to do at this time in my life because I know that that opportunity kind of doesn't go away, but like it becomes more difficult. I just like to lean into all the things that are a lot easier to do when I'm single. I can move whenever. I've moved a ton, you guys know, in the past few years, and I never had to think twice about it because like I have no attachments. I just up and leave. So yeah, I think until you find like someone who is really worth your while and who will really make your life better, it is so great to be single. And I don't subscribe to this idea that like you have to be like a fully healed version of yourself to find love. Like, I don't like this idea that you have to have all your shit figured out for you to be worthy of love. But I do think the fact that like I have figured out how to make myself happy and I have the peace of mind of knowing that like I have a whole and fulfilled life with my family and friends, that allows me to like set a really high bar for a relationship. I think if you aren't dating to fill a void, you will quickly realize that like most men don't have a lot to offer. I don't want to prioritize a man unless they are really going to, you know, bring something to the table and take care of me in a way that I can't take care of myself. And so until then, I'm going to live my happy single life. And another thing that people asked about was dating, like the literal act of dating. Here's the thing. It's highly overrated to me, but that is like a result of like my personality and who I am. I've talked about this, like I'm much more introverted. I love spending time alone. So the idea of like leaving my house and using my precious time and my precious social battery to meet some whack-ass man, like that truly is my worst nightmare. But I have friends who genuinely like love meeting new people and who also like find more people attractive. This is another issue for me when it comes to like dating off dating apps. Like, I just really can't tell if I'm going to be attracted to someone based off a photo. So a lot of first dates, like I pull up to the function, they open their mouth and say one word and I'm already like, I'm just not romantically interested in this person. But I have friends where they're like, oh, even if I meet someone and they're not my type, like I think it's still fun to have that conversation. Whereas I'm like, get me out of here. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's overrated. I think like having a roster, dating around, doing all that is overrated. And not because like I'm shaming people who live that lifestyle. I'm honestly jealous. Given I'm always freaking single, it would be nice if I could like really relish the single life and like, you know, being crazy and like getting all this attention from men. But I don't know. I just think attention from men that I don't want is scary. Like, I truly only want like compliments and attention and validation from a man that I love and respect. And I don't respect a lot of men. So, you know, just in that case, leave me alone and don't talk to me. Okay, another one that I got a lot was being a YouTuber. Are y'all gonna act like I didn't just upload a 50-minute podcast episode where I went in depth about whether or not I regret becoming a full-time content creator? I'm not gonna get into this that much because, you know, there's a whole video if you really want to know all the details. But I'm gonna say that this is properly rated only because I think there are certain aspects of it that are overrated and certain aspects of it that are underrated. Oh, like getting all the free stuff and getting to go on brand trips. It's such a privilege, don't get me wrong, but at least for me, I find that part to be a little bit overrated because people don't realize like all the boundaries you lose between life and work and how different it is to go on a trip where you don't have to take content, you don't have to film, and how chronically online you have to be for the job. Random clips or things you say can be taken out of context and turned against you. The weirdness of parasocial relationships. Like, there are a lot of things that people either think are more fun than they actually are, or like downsides to it that people don't think about when they're just looking from the outside in. I mean, obviously, like the freedom in your day-to-day life is incredible. I feel like that part could never be overrated, like being able to choose your own schedule, be your own boss. But I honestly think the most underrated part about being a content creator, or like being a YouTuber in particular, is you can make a living out of basically anything. Because like when people see that I crochet or knit, the first thing they always ask is like, oh, do you sell the stuff you make? Like in general, when you're an artist, you're like, I guess most obvious option to monetize it is to start a business and sell what you make. And I've always known that I don't want to start a brand. I don't want to sell my designs. Like the joy of it really for me is just like making my little one-off pieces and like constantly doing new designs and reinventing it and not having to like think about marketing to any sort of audience. YouTube is just this very rare opportunity where I don't have to sell anything I make. I'm basically monetizing the fact that people just want to watch me make things. And that's why I always say that like the job isn't perfect, but it's about as close to my dream job as possible, which is just like making cool shit and not having to do anything else. Obviously, it's not that simple. I have to like make content out of it, do brand deals. That's how I monetize it. But there are so many random niches on YouTube. People who like react to movies, people who do like in-depth reviews of movies and TV shows, people who do all kind of like random art forms like sound engineering. And it just gives you an opportunity to turn things that normally could never be a job into a stream of income. And I just think that part is like truly so underrated and could never be overrated. Okay, getting into the fashion world, someone said Y2K coming back into style. I actually think Y2K is kind of on its way out. I feel like it had its heyday a few years ago and now it's kind of falling out of the zeitgeist. This was a little bit targeted because you guys must know how much I love Y2K fashion. Here's what I'll say. People talk about Y2K like all of Y2K fashion came back. No, we got like the low-rise pants and, you know, like the blingy, bedazzled stuff and the kind of like leather, more hobo-ish bags. But like the Disney Channel layering like 4,000 shirts and like a lot of like the stuff from the 2000s that is low-key still a little fugly didn't come back. So I don't want to say like I love Y2K fashion as a whole because that would be a lie, but I think a lot of the elements that like came back into style, those are like genuinely elements of my style. Like there are some trends that I buy into and I kind of know it's not me, but I'm just playing with it. But Y2K, it's like even when it's less trendy, they're just things that I love. Like I love how I look in like a tight, low-waisted pant and then I can show like my tramp stamp, or it's not a tramp stamp, but like lower back tattoo. The like kind of whale tail thing where you like show the G-string with low-rise pants. love that. Like, I'm kind of into the like slightly trashy aesthetic. I have that bedazzled New York City like denim hat that I freaking love. I love like huge hoops. I love like the 2000s like pop star aesthetic, like Britney Spears, kind of like matching leather outfits, the Canadian tuxedos. So to me, I don't want to say it's underrated because I do feel like, you know, it kind of got its hype, but I'll say it's properly rated. I'm not going to say it's overrated because I just personally, genuinely really love it. Another yarn one, so many people asked about Mohair. If you don't know what it is, it's like a specific yarn fiber. It's kind of fuzzy. There's some mohair in the yarn that I'm using right now, actually. It's like fuzzy. It often comes in like a really, really thin weight. And it's like kind of airy and like has this like halo. It glows in the sun. I'm sorry, but even though it's so freaking hyped already, I still think mohair is underrated. And it is like expensive to buy and make things out of it. That part I have to address. But I just think both practically and as an artist, it is such an amazing fiber, right? Because I've used it to make just like simple sweaters. And what's amazing about mohair is that it's so thin and so lightweight, but so warm. Like one of my biggest pet peeves is like trying to layer in the winter and you just get like way too bulky and you're like a freaking like snowman, you know? But mohair, it's so, so thin, but so warm. Like some of the mohair sweaters I make, you can literally crumple them like and like fit them in a little purse, but they give you so much warmth. And so it's just such a great wardrobe staple to have. Like I can throw on a little mohair cardigan under leather jacket. You don't even see it, but it makes a jacket like way warmer. From a creative aspect, I think mohair, like especially crochet mohair, like my crochet mohair bolero, it's called the komorebi bolero because it reminds me of, there's like this Japanese word komorebi for like when sunlight filters through like a canopy of leaves and how it like casts that pattern on the floor. If you see the way that sun shines on or like through crochet mohair, it is genuinely so gorgeous. I'm sorry, but like mohair is never going to be overrated to me. And I feel like you guys should know that because everything I make is pretty much either mohair or like cotton. Okay, another one that a bunch of you asked about, which feels targeted because you guys know I love it. Formula One or F1, freaking underrated, okay? And I know you're probably thinking it's just a bunch of rich, obnoxious people watching European men drive fast cars. I mean, that is what it is. And I understand why people are like, why do you like this? Because I'm not into European men and I'm not into cars. I mean, I do kind of have a speeding issue, but that's not relevant. Here's the thing. I once heard someone say that sports for men are kind of like reality TV for women in the sense that like you get invested in different people or teams and you see the dynamics and you want to see how it plays out and who comes out on top. And to me, F1 is by far the most reality TV coded sport. Obviously, Netflix made Drive to Survive, like they literally made a reality show out of it. But they use that formula on like every other sport and I've watched all of them and respectfully, they're boring as fuck. The thing about F1 is you only have 20 drivers on the grid, 10 teams. It's really easy to get up to speed, get to know all the drivers, get really bought in, and it's just such an entertaining cast of characters because they're usually not American, and like when we do have American drivers like Logan Sargent, they're like the most boring one on the grid. There's just like so many hilarious personalities. A lot of them are European, Australian. I mean, we do have Yuki Tsunoda from Japan. And they're just like so unfiltered, hilarious, aggressive. The team principals too. They're such characters. And if I have to watch a bunch of men like jacked up on testosterone competing, you might as well make it freaking entertaining. And I think aside from the personalities, the sport itself is also just very dramatic. There are so many factors that go into a race. Every year, you don't know what team is going to have the best car, and that obviously impacts like whether the driver is going to be able to win races. There's like race strategy, like pit stops, tire strategy. There's weather. If it rains and it's a wet race, it kind of evens the playing field and drivers that normally wouldn't be able to win races have the chance to win. The thing is, it's not designed to be like a very fair comparison of everyone's athletic abilities. It's designed to be chaotic and unpredictable and entertaining, and it is. And like we have a huge class of rookies this year. And to me, it literally feels like a bunch of new bombshells walked into the villa. Like, I am so invested in those drivers. And it's not because I think they're hot, because they're not my type. Well, except for Lewis Hamilton, but I feel like he's everyone's type. I don't know. I get if you aren't into F1, but That's my pitch on why I am obsessed with it. Okay, this next one I got from one of my really good friends, Andrew, and it made me laugh. He put yourself, which honestly is a fantastic question. I sat there and thought about it for a while, and I was like, do I think I'm underrated or overrated? Here's what I will say. I think among people who watch my content, I'm a little bit overrated. But I think in the broader universe, I'm underrated. So let me explain. Like, the people, you guys who watch me, the way you gas me up in the comments, you're like, you're so beautiful and well-dressed and well-spoken and like smart and funny. Actually, you know what? I am all those things. But I do think my fiber arts abilities, it's a little overrated. And okay, I think the pieces I make are like beautiful, but I think my skills are a little bit overrated. And like, technically speaking, I really don't know what I'm doing. I only have like more foundational skills. I'm more just like a work with what I got kind of gal. When people like call me like advanced crocheter or knitter, especially knitting, because I am like so not advanced when it comes to knitting. I'm like, okay guys, like, be so fucking for real. You're giving me a little bit too much credit. But when it comes to like the broader universe of content creators, I mean, like, there are so many creators that I do respect, and there's so many where I'm like, why do you have your platform? I do think while it's more work, I have the luxury of like having a platform that's built on actually like an art form and making something. And I wish like those kinds of creators got more traction versus like the ones who are just constantly like trying to sell you things, or who just like show you their boring lives. Well, I also show you a lot of my boring life, so I shouldn't say that. I mean, I just think like not just me, but in general, like artists are underrated in the social media sphere, and, you know, should get more hype for like the fact that they're actually creating something that isn't just the content. Like, they're creating art on its own. On that note, we have another crochet one. And it's funny how much I got this, because it like reminded me that fiber artists are all kind of aware of like the same trends coming up. And this one is Fillet crochet. For those of you who don't crochet, it's basically where you use like a really thin yarn and a grid, and you make these really cool designs. Like, it's almost like making a fabric, but it like has a motif built into it. I'll insert some photos. I think this one is still underrated. If you give it a few more months, I might want to say it's overrated, but I feel like it's still on the rise. As far as like crochet things go, it's much more my style versus like granny squares, for example. And like the pieces are so beautiful. What I will say is like, A, it's an insane amount of work. And B, I don't know like how much it would be appreciated, because it does look kind of like something that like you bought in a store. Obviously that can be a compliment, like it doesn't look handmade, but it does look like often like a fabric that people would just see. I actually am thinking about whether I want to do a fillet crochet video. I need your input, because I just feel like by the time I get around to it, the trend might have like really taken off and people might be sick of like seeing it. And I feel like a lot of the designs that I had in mind, I've kind of already seen be made by other creators. So I don't know if it's worth doing, but if you guys want to see it, I'd obviously happily do it. Okay, the next one's another fashion one, and it also feels kind of targeted. Like, why are you guys picking things that you already know I love? It's skirt over pants. I have always been a skirt over pants, dress over pants girly. I just think it is so fun to have the opportunity to play with new silhouettes. It's one of those trends that I feel like has only spread to like fashion girlies. Like, I see a lot of my like influencer friends wear it, but I really haven't seen it spread to the general population. And I'm not sure why, because I don't think it's that out there. Like, there is a version of it where you wear like super long skirt over super long pants, or like random skirt over jeans, and I can see why that like seems fugly or like seems out there to people. But to me, it's a trend that absolutely can be kind of made to fit like anyone's style and can be done in a very classic way. Like, it's not like freaking moon boots, you know? For example, I have like 2 pairs of skirt pants that I got in Vietnam. They're actually like pants that have like a skirt panel attached to them. One is just like a very plain, like almost Dickies kind of style black pants. And then it just has like a sort of like straight up and down skirt panel that goes over it. And then I have these like gray kind of trouser style pants with like an asymmetrical pleated panel. And I'm freaking obsessed with them, because they're like the perfect balance of like, it's a basic and it goes with everything, but it is like an elevated basic and immediately makes you look like cool and interesting without trying that hard because it's like a little bit different. I love wearing it with like a crop top, right? To like sort of highlight the skirt pants, but also wearing like a really big top and just having that like pleated skirt part kind of peek out from the bottom, I think is also a really cool shape. As soon as you are like adding like new layers, it just gives you like so many different styling opportunities. I also love a denim dress over jeans, but I just love like denim on denim. So yeah, to me that's very underrated and I feel like more people should play with it. It's kind of like my go-to when I'm like, I want to look cool or like look like a fashion girly. Next one, are you guys trying to piss me off by like putting things that I've already recorded full episodes on? Quite a few people put like New York City or living in New York City. I do have a full podcast episode on how I feel about living in New York City and like the pros and cons. I'm gonna say that it's fairly rated because I think the things that people hate on New York for are valid, and then the things that people love New York for are also very valid. So like the insane prices, the tiny apartments, the fact that it could smell bad, the rats, but at the same time, like, you know, the public transit, the fact that it's a walkable city, the diversity, the art, the fashion, the culture, the fact that there are so many things to do, the fact that there's so many people like pursuing, you know, unconventional career paths here. I think all those things are also completely valid. And I talk a lot in that episode about like why I feel like as an introvert and as someone who struggles with depression, living in like a very urban, fast-paced city is actually way better for me than like living in the suburbs. And so I love New York. I can't imagine living anywhere else, at least at this point in my life. But it's not for everyone. Like I do think if you have like this crazy glamorized idea of New York from like the movies and stuff, you might be kind of shook by the reality. But if you love New York for the right reasons, I feel like it will totally like live up to the hype for you. Kind of along those lines, New York Fashion Week, overrated. The easiest, I feel like I haven't been saying that many things are overrated. That one is freaking overrated. And here's what I'll say. I think Fashion Week in general is not overrated. I just think New York Fashion Week. In the fashion world, it's kind of become a bit of a joke. Like if you really care about fashion, go to Milan Fashion Week or Paris Fashion Week. The Fashion Week itself is cool, but I think I don't want to be like one of those people who's like influencers ruin Fashion Week, because I completely understand why influencers get invited to these events, right? It used to be like you invited people from like magazines because those were the people who set the trends, those were the tastemakers, and the people who now take fashion trends and kind of like spread them to the general populace, that's influencers, and they have the reach and I get why they're there. But they definitely invite like so many people just because they have the numbers and not because they're like into fashion at all. And it does kind of rub me the wrong way because I feel like before, everyone at Fashion Week actually like knew about fashion. Like they knew about designers. I don't even think I'm that educated about the fashion world, but like I know all these designers. I keep up to date with the shows, the trends, kind of keep up to date with like, you know, the creative director moves and like so-and-so's era at this brand versus this brand. And I just feel like it's such an exclusive opportunity. The people who are going should like really appreciate what's in front of them. And like so many of the influencers don't. But I do think like going to the shows is really, really cool. It's just this weird phenomenon where like people now say they're doing New York Fashion Week. Like influencers will be like, oh my God, New York Fashion Week. But they didn't go to any shows. They just went to a bunch of like brand events. And I'm like, that's not really Fashion Week. That's just like brands taking advantage of the fact that everyone's in New York for Fashion Week. And so when people are like, oh, how is Fashion Week for you? Like I always go to like at most like 1 or 2 shows. To me, it's very like influencer Olympics, influencer sorority rush. Like what did you get invited to? I think for like influencers particularly, it's just about like turning out a lot of like really slay outfits and like looking hot versus like actually styling really interesting outfits. I hate when people treat New York Fashion Week as a time to wear pretty dresses instead of turn a freaking look. I've talked about this before, but I think fashion and the art of fashion is very different from like looking hot or looking pretty. And I think a lot of influencers are more on the like, let me just look good side of things versus like, let me actually try and be fashionable. I also don't want to say too much on this because I don't really slay that hard at Fashion Week, but again, I'm not really going to shows, so if I get invited and then I look bad, you guys can quote me on this and roast me. I knew I was going to get this one. The next one is Tabi's. They're like those split toe shoes. Some of you call them the weird toe shoes, the goat shoes. So those are originally a Maison Margiela design. I'm gonna say they're underrated. Again, when it comes to fashion, I love anything that's like controversial and kind of pushes the boundaries. And so I like the fact that they're very polarizing and some people either love them or hate them. I actually don't love like the Tabi boot that much, but I love the flats. I've heard they're very uncomfortable, but the flats I think are so cute. And then like non-Margiela brands have now started making Tabis, which is kind of interesting because it still is definitely design that's kind of associated with them. But I've seen like the split toe Tabi like sneakers. Those I think are kind of ugly. I don't know. It depends, but I think they're interesting. And I think people who are willing to buy them and try and style them are usually people who are genuinely like into fashion. I don't know. I would like to not like, it's not ever going to become like a thing that everyone's wearing, but I like seeing it spread and I like seeing different iterations of it because I just feel like the more versions of something that come out, the more people can kind of like buy into the idea, right? Like I feel like the Tabi ballet flats are kind of what brought me into the universe of being like, oh, I would wear that. I think it's fun to wear things that some people think are ugly. I very much subscribe to the if everyone loves your outfit, you didn't throw a fit kind of mentality. So I love Tabis. I think they're underrated, but if you think they're fugly, that's also like totally your prerogative. I'm not going to argue with you. We have one more yarn one. This one's going to piss some people off. A lot of people put merino wool. It's like this specific type of wool that is like used a lot. I'm gonna say it's kind of overrated. To me, the benefits of it over an acrylic yarn. Here, let me back up and give you some context. Basically, acrylic yarn is a synthetic fiber, and there's like this whole sort of narrative in the fiber arts world that like organic fibers, natural fibers are better than synthetic fibers. So like merino wool is a natural fiber. And, you know, there are benefits like it's softer or it's like more breathable or it's like warmer. But my issue with merino is that like a lot of people use it to make t-shirts and like summer pieces, but it's so freaking warm and I don't find it all that breathable, really. And so there's like a lot of pieces I've made with wool where I'm like, I mean, I will say merino is better than other wools. Like some wools are just like so scratchy where I'm like, why would you even want to use this? I just feel like there are some acrylic yarns that are being developed now that honestly are really, really soft. And if you finished a piece with that versus merino, they would both be very warm and not that breathable. And so I don't think like acrylic deserves the hate. And I don't always think that merino's the better option because it's also so freaking expensive and like inaccessible. And I know I just said that mohair is underrated and that's also very expensive and inaccessible. But I think mohair is like worth the money in terms of like how unique and different and practical it is. Whereas like merino, I don't know, like the Red Heart brushed yarn is an acrylic yarn that I think is great. The Karen Latte cakes. But I should also say, like, you've probably noticed if you watch my videos, I use like the same few yarns for all my projects. I'm not that educated on yarn fibers. So I'm also like not really qualified to speak on this, but that's how I feel about it right now. Oh my gosh, this is one that I expected to get from more people. The show White Lotus. I'm surprised no one put Severance, but also like I won't shut up about how obsessed I am with Severance. So maybe you guys knew better than to ask about that. I am also watching The White Lotus. Here's my take on it. I think season 1 was underrated, season 2 is properly rated, and season 3 is like overrated. I mean, is that like not just the trajectory of how all things go? Basically, if you haven't watched it before, it's this TV show on HBO Max. And the idea is it's like a bunch of like rich white people going to another country on vacation. And it kind of unpacks like a lot of the archetypes of like rich white people. Every season ends with like some sort of, I guess like usually accidental murder. And I do think when the show came out, it was so novel and unique and interesting. And the creator Mike White really does do an amazing job of representing like certain very specific dynamics that you see in like a super accurate way, whether that be like best friends who say they love each other but like gossip about each other behind their backs, or like that white woman CEO who like thinks that she's so progressive and is like very white feminist but like is also just like so ignorant in so many ways. And so I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons of the show, and like the suspense build towards like who's gonna die and how is really interesting. It kind of has like a murder mystery aspect to it, and I do love a murder mystery, but I feel like it's the formula is kind of starting to like run its course this season. A lot of people have been complaining that like the pacing is really, really slow. And it always was like a suspenseful build kind of show, but I do agree. I've currently watched last Sunday's episode, which was episode 7, so all that's left is the finale. There were so many episodes where like nothing really happened, and I kind of feel like unless the finale is like the most mind-blowing thing I've ever seen in my freaking life, this season is just not as good as the previous seasons. The other thing, and this is like I guess less about the show and more about like the making of the show. The show is about like a bunch of, you know, rich, ignorant white people going to this other country and like taking up space and like not actually appreciating the culture. But in making the show, they are kind of like playing that out, because you have like a huge predominantly white cast staying like this season's in Thailand for like months at a time. I mean, obviously it's more prone to rub me the wrong way because it's like the first Asian country, but it also like was a little, the first season was in Hawaii. I felt some type of way about that as well. And also like this season is the first time where some people in the cast are, for lack of a better word, not that woke. Like Parker Posey is this actress, and she's had a career for so long. And she was like, oh, this is my first time in Asia. And I just think the fact that like you have like had money and opportunity to travel for that much of your life and you've never wanted to go to Asia is very telling. And then she called Thailand exotic, and I was like, just like the making of the show is sometimes like rubbing me the wrong way. Like it's also made by a white person. I don't know. I wouldn't mind if there wasn't another season. Although if there's another season, I would still watch it. So, okay, this is the last crochet knitting one, and that is interchangeable circular needles. So if you don't knit, basically like we have circular needles where it's like 2 needles and there's like a cord that attaches it, but you need like different length cords depending on what you're making, like the body of the sweater versus like the sleeve of a sweater. And you can buy these sets where like the needles and the cords detach, and you can attach like different size needles to different length cords. I am obsessed with my set. I mean, I'll link it down below. The one thing I'll say is the needle sizes are off by a half size from like true needle sizes, which is very weird and random. But yes, like they sometimes will come undone, but in general, I find them very easy to use. And I cannot imagine like how much money it would cost to like buy all the circular needles that you need separately, like all the different sizes and the different cord lengths. I think they're underrated. I don't know why more people don't use them. And I get a lot of questions from people who are like, do you like them? And I'm like, what is there not to like? And then someone put living in the US amidst a fascist government takeover. I mean, I guess overrated. It's never going to be underrated. I'm not going to get into it because it's too fucking depressing, but the US in general is, I mean, I don't want to say it's overrated because I do feel like we're kind of the laughing stock of the world right now, but we're still overrated because like leading country of the world, my fucking ass. Okay, I need to pick another one now because we can't end on that note because that's fucking depressing. Oh, okay. This one, I've never mentioned that I like it, so it's not targeted, but it feels targeted because someone put mint chip ice cream. I fucking love mint chip, mint chocolate. People who say it tastes like toothpaste can suck my ass, but also like I don't care because that just means you can give it to me and it's more for me to eat. I literally went to like Spencer's Spa yesterday. It's like one of my favorite facial massage places in New York, and they have like those little Andes mints out, and I always subtly take like 5 handfuls when I'm there. It's not that subtle actually. I think the receptionist definitely saw me. I love it. Mint chip ice cream is my favorite ice cream flavor. And if you've had like a really properly made one, like not artificial, whoa, I just started choking because I got so enthused. It is life-changing. And to me, the trademark of a really good mint chip ice cream is if it's like not green. As much as I love the green color, like normal mint chip ice cream is not green. The green is food coloring. So like if you get a white mint chip ice cream, I just feel like that's how you know it's going to be like really bussin'. I don't think people say that word anymore, but I fucking love mint chip ice cream. Underrated. Haters gonna hate, but I love mint chip. Okay, that was today's episode. That was fun, guys. Let me know if you enjoyed this. I don't know. It was nice to like yap briefly about several topics versus like deep diving into one. And I feel like I still spit some truths, or I don't know, maybe I just talked out of my ass the whole time. That's fine too. Let me know if you agree, disagree, think that I'm wrong about everything, and let me know if you have more podcast ideas, because otherwise the next one will be about depression, and we don't need to hear about that right now. Or rather, I don't feel like talking about that right now. Okay, I love you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Later! You left the